Hi everyone, today I wanted to do a quick little chatty video about my experiences growing up in the Bible Belt and being a Harry Potter fan. I was talking to my husband about this the other day because I recently, a few months ago, reread Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I'm currently reading the second book, and I guess I'm just going to reread them all. But after I read this book, I was talking to him about it. And he thought, that might be a good video because it would be interesting to see if other people had this experience. Anyway, I just wanted to start out by talking about my personal experience trying to purchase this book. So first of all, this book came out in 1997. I don't think that I had even heard about it until like 98, maybe 99, because I know for a fact it was in 5th grade. But anyway, Scholastic's Books used to do book fairs at my schools, and before the book fair would happen, they would hand out these little pamphlets with all the books in there, like highlighted books that you could purchase at the book fair. And so it was a good way to go home and ask your parents for money and to get permission to buy certain things. So I was flipping through the pamphlet and I came across Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, and I read the blurb and it just sucked me in. I had to have it. I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, yeah, of course, you can have that book. And book fair day came, and I couldn't find a copy of this book anywhere. I talked to my teacher. She also couldn't find it. So then at that point, she suggested we talk to the Scholastic's book fair lady and see if she knew what was going on. She told me at that time that they were not allowed to carry this book in our area. And I immediately asked her why. And she just said there are certain books that are not for certain areas of the country, and we customize each book fair to, blah, 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 blah. All I could hear was, they don't have this book, and I need to read it like yesterday because it sounds amazing. So anyway, she gives me a form to order the book. I take it home, I tell my mom, and she's, of course, disappointed for me. And we fill out the order form, and now I have to wait, it felt like forever, but I'm sure it's just a couple of weeks, for the book to be delivered to my school. So delivery day comes, I get my copy of the book, and my friend and I, who I used to go over to her house every day after school, her mom would pick us up and take us to her house, and we would do homework and play and all that until my parents were able to get off work and pick me up. So anyway, we get in the car. So she's sitting there with her big old bag of books and showing them to me in the back of the car. And I'm talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And her mom overhears us and asks me to tell her about my book. So I did, and she immediately became very stiff and asked me to put it away in my backpack and not to bring it up at her house or around my friends anymore. And it seemed very strange to me. I felt instantly uncomfortable, and I did as I was told and put the book away. Later at my friend's house, of course I brought it up again, but not in front of her mom. But I just asked her, I was like, what's the deal? And she told me that her mom doesn't let her watch or read anything that has to do with witchcraft. So, I'm like, okay, fine. I won't talk about it. And I remember later my friend's mom asking me, does your mom know that you bought this book? And I said, well, of course. She helped me fill out the form and she gave me the money. She knows about it. And she was like, okay. Now, if you have seen any of my other videos, you might remember that my parents were deaf. Now, growing up, an experience that I had a lot was my friends' parents who were hearing had this idea that my parents' deafness affected their ability to be a parent and know what was going on in the world, I guess. So a lot of my friends' parents felt the need to teach my parents right and wrong whenever it came to raising their children. So it's time for my mom to pick me up from her house. And she sits my mom down and explains to her how evil this book is and how she shouldn't let me read it. My mom, of course, just kind of said, okay, thank you, I'm gonna go home now. So anyway, we get home and my mom sits me down and she, knows that I feel bad about the situation, that I feel uncomfortable about it, and she tells me, I'm really glad that you like to read, and I don't see anything wrong with this book. You're a smart girl, and it's all just make-believe and fun, and I know that you know that. So go ahead and read it, and then tell me about it, because it sounds good. So, yeah, I read Harry Potter, fell in love with it, and my mom kind of told me to just kind of keep it to myself and just not to mention it to my other friends, because apparently, I guess, a lot of girls in my Girl Scout troop and their parents were also really concerned about Harry Potter, so she just kind of told me not to talk about it. And so I didn't, and then a few years went by, and the movie was going to come out. Now, my aunt knew that I really liked this book, and so she wanted to take me to the movie. My aunt is also deaf, and she's just an amazing aunt. She would take us to movies because she knew that we would enjoy them, and I know that she herself didn't get very much out of them because there was not captioning. We would try to interpret them in the dark, but I'm sure that wasn't very effective. So anyway, my aunt is an amazing person, and like I said, she knew how much I loved it, so she took me and my brother and my little cousins to go see it. And on the news, it was just all over the news, like how controversial this was, and how all these pastors are upset about it, and how people should boycott it and not go see it, and blah, blah, blah. At the time, my family and I were attending a church, and it was like the first Christian church. I think it was one of those like non-denominational things. I don't really know. We ended up not going for very long. But one day they did a sermon about Harry Potter and how you shouldn't allow your family to see the movie or read the books or whatever. So yeah, that was a little over the top. But one of my other friends I found out, whose family was also extremely conservative, like my friend I already talked about earlier in this video, she was allowed to read Harry Potter and see the movies, but she wasn't allowed to tell people about it because her church had also preached against it. So in secret we would kind of talk about these books, but we weren't allowed to tell other people about it. And yeah, I think as each book came out, the controversy kind of started to settle down, but I am so sad about the fact that I had to be so careful about loving Harry Potter because there were so many different things going on all over the world, apparently, that were super fun, that are some of, like, my favorite booktubers talk about their Harry Potter experiences, and they just sound amazing. And I was literally, like, shamed for liking Harry Potter. I think after a few of the movies had been out, my grandma had a friend who was kind of wacky, and she asked me if I liked Harry Potter, and I was like, yeah, of course, I've read them all, I love the movies, and she was like, well, you need to not talk to your cousins about it, and it's a sin for you to like those books, and you need to talk to God and find out how you can stay away from these books because you're going to go to hell. And it was just extremely awkward and strange. And my grandma, of course, after she left, was like, don't listen to anything she says. You can read whatever you want. You're fine. So yeah, fast forward to, actually it was just last year, around Halloween, I went to a book event and I dressed up as Mrs. Weasley. There was a little girl at the event, and she asked me who I was, and I explained to her, I'm Mrs. Weasley, and she's my favorite character from Harry Potter, and her parents quickly kind of signaled at me and were like, we don't read Harry Potter. I'm like, okay, fine. Sorry. Have a good day. I like your costume. This is incredibly awkward. But yeah, it's like, it's 2016, and there's still this weird stigma in Oklahoma about the Harry Potter series. So anyway, that's my little Harry Potter story. If you guys have experienced any of what I'm talking about, if you could let me know in the comments below. I would love to have like a little discussion going about the Harry Potter controversy that I thought was everywhere, but it doesn't seem to be the case. I hope you all have a good day, and I will see you next time with another video. Bye.